Let's go back to Revelation chapter 19. So whose side are you on? I mean, the end is coming. We're seeing signs all around us. And if I were you, I'd repent and receive Christ for my salvation before it's too late. Look at verse 18. That ye may eat the flesh of kings. See that? All the elites, their bodies are gone. And the flesh of captains, all these captains. And the flesh of mighty men, the strong ones, the mighty ones. The birds are going to eat them. And the flesh of horses. So notice how horses are involved. And of them that sit on them. People who sit on the horses. Now, if you were to think about it, the people who sit on horses, it's hard to imagine it because in our day and age, we're not riding on horses for battle. It's actually vehicles. So then, here's the thing is that, then what group of people could you think about who would still ride on horses? Yeah, you're using your head. That shows where the battle will take place is truly Middle East. So see, there will be, the Bible mentions about the kings of the East. Remember that? Kings of the East. So then, you got to realize that we include that for China, but the country where Israel and the Muslims are at is also known as Middle East. Middle East. It's just that they don't make up enough numbers, so that's why we put China in there. Because the Bible talks about like millions. It's like a huge, colossal number. So there's no doubt that we see that Muslims will be involved in this battle. Muslims will be involved in this battle. This will make a lot more sense. Let's keep reading. And the flesh of all men. So everyone's flesh will be eaten. Both free and bond. Both small and great. So notice that prisoners or slaves and free people, regular citizens and little people and big people, small and great nations, united nations. See, everyone has to be all united in one, and God's going to wipe them all out at Armageddon. They all have to be united together. Satan has to unite them. Now let's look at Matthew 24. Matthew 24. Notice Jesus mentioned that when he comes, and then the tribulation saints are raptured, he mentions that sometime after the tribulation saints get raptured, there's something else that's occurring. There's something else that's occurring. Go to Matthew chapter 24. Notice what the Bible says. We're going to look at verse 26, verse 26. Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. So Jesus' coming is not in secret. It's public. You notice that? That's important. Verse 27. For as the lightning cometh out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So his coming is going to be like lightning. So it's going to be very public. Look at this. Where is he coming? Look at verse 28. For wheresoever the what? Carcass is, there will the what? Eagles be gathered together. Did you see that? Notice over here that all the birds are gathered together where the carcasses are laid out. The carcasses are laid out. And then God judges them. Now there's one preacher who preached some kind of heresy concerning where he believed that Christians will not be raptured before the tribulation, but that Christians will go through the tribulation. He argues that the rapture will take place after the tribulation. When he argues that, he actually, one of them actually teach the heresy that the carcass being laid out is actually Jesus dying on the cross. That is plain blasphemy. You better watch out. You know why? Because the reason why is this is the carcass of his enemies. The Antichrist being judged and punished by God. You don't want to put Jesus in there. So you better watch out for that one. Thankfully, the pastor got kicked out of YouTube. All right. And then has to start from scratch again. But that kind of blasphemy, the Lord can't tolerate in that kind of teaching. All right. Let's go back to Revelation 19. Let's go back to Revelation 19. And verse 19. So John, what else does John see? That's why the book is literally called Revelation, because John's seeing a lot. See, it's being revealed to him a lot. The title is very perfect. Revelation. Verse 19, and I saw the beast. John sees the beast. Remember, that's who? The Antichrist here. He's called the beast here. And then he also sees another person, the false prophet. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth. See all the globalists here. And their armies, the people who follow the globalists who lead the armies, gathered together to make war against him. See, they're all trying to make war against the one who what? That sat on the horse. That's Jesus Christ who's sitting on that white horse. And against his army. So not only do they try to conquer Jesus, they try to conquer us. That's why they've been persecuting tribulation saints. That's why the globalists are trying to set up an agenda where they can persecute Christians, save Christians today. Why is that? That's Satan's goal, is to conquer them. And obviously it's a total wipeout. They might get their heyday right now. And they might get their heyday during the tribulation. But trust me, at Armageddon, it's a total loss. It's a losing battle for them. Verse 20, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet. So the beast, he's taken, and notice who accompanies him is the false prophet. Now, just real quick as I draw this, you might recall in my Revelation video during the lockdown, I mentioned to you that the Pope, he would most likely be a Catholic figure. Whereas the false prophet, it would make more sense to see him as a Muslim figure. Because remember, if you recall in my teachings on, let's see here, on Revelation 13, I'm going to switch hands over here actually. All right. Revelation 13, the false prophet, he's known to carry out the orders of killing saints with a sword. A sword. And also, he is known as the prophet. Now, when you talk about a prophet who kills people with the sword, what historical figure do you pops out in your mind, obviously, right? See? And not only that, the Muslims, they are looking for that one day. They keep saying Muhammad, his prophet. Muhammad, his prophet. Prophet, prophet. They make a big deal out of prophet. Prophet, prophet. Whereas the Catholics, they make a big deal about a representative of Christ. A representative of Christ. A representative of Christ. And who is that? That's the Pope. That's the Pope over there.
That's good.
So, I don't know if you remember listening to that at Revelation 13. So, that's why it's best that you pay attention and remember. But there was a lot of gold in that one. There was a lot of gold in that one that I'm just reviewing. This is just review. There's a way more if you go back to your Revelation 13 video. Okay, so we see over here that that's why I think the false prophet, it's more likely that he would be Muslim. I see him more as a Muslim figure. And then the Antichrist, he fit more as a Pope figure. Remember, some people say that the reason why they put false prophet as the Pope and then the beast as a secular political leader is because it seems more like a political power for the Antichrist. And then the false prophet is more of a religious power. But I showed you in my Revelation series that both of them have secular and religious powers. Both of them, undoubtedly. Because the false prophet's making the world worship while killing them with the sword and making them take a mark. That's secular. It's a credit card system. The false prophet's doing that, not the Antichrist. But the Antichrist also does it as well. He forces people, he persecutes tribulation saints. See that? But he's also worshipped. So you see religion and politics mixed up over there. I see that as more. Some people say the false prophet is the white pope, which is the current pope today. And then the beast is the black pope, which some of you have not heard. But the black pope is the superior general of the Jesuits. So that's what they see it as. Me, I give a simple answer over here. The Jesuits, if you look at their oath, undoubtedly their oath is to make the world bow their knees to the pope. And that's referring to the white pope. That's what the Jesuit oath is. That's what Loyola started his organization. But there's no doubt that the Jesuit general, he can be controlling over the white pope if you study history. So the simple answer is this. The simple answer is, if you study the Jesuit general and the white pope, undoubtedly the Antichrist, the way he does things, is very similar, but it's way more power than that. So the simple answer is, the Antichrist, he can just combine a Jesuit black pope general with a white pope and combine it to one. Is that possible? We got a Jesuit who became pope today, white pope today. Anything's possible. Especially with COVID and the riots and so many new things happening. New things can happen. New things can happen. All right, let's look back at Revelation chapter 19. The false prophet that wrought miracles before him. So see, that's why the charismatic movement and the Catholic visions and the charismatic visions are dangerous. That's why charismatic and Catholic, it's interesting, they're very intertwined if you study them. So that's why do not go for this charismatic movement. Signs and wonders, visions, healings, speaking of tongues, that's gone. You better erase that. You better not get fooled by that stuff, because those miracles movements are intertwining with the Catholics if you study. So you better watch out for that. So the false prophet, he does miracles before the Antichrist. That way he can prove that, hey, see, this is God. Let's keep reading. With which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast. So he used the miracles to deceive the whole world who receives the mark of the beast in their hand. Or in their forehead. And them that worshipped his image. So those also who worship the beast's image. Remember, he has an image set up. Now you see these rioters knocking down current statues and images, right? Why? You got to replace something old with something new. The old order has to go down, and then a new order has to come up. This is white supremacy, etc., right? That's what they're all trying to say. So we might want to endorse something that's multicultural, something that is that respects all religions around the world. So why don't we build one? Watch the next news that might pop out. I'm predicting, now I could be wrong, but man, I'm predicting that as they keep knocking down these statues, they have to build new ones that can be more ecumenical, more multicultural. Now use your brains on that one now, and just keep tabs on current events and news. Alrighty then. So they're going to worship this image over here. It is very interesting that the image that is mentioned, 666, is Nebuchadnezzar's image, which is interesting. And Nebuchadnezzar, remember, he is a type of the Antichrist, which we studied in our Revelation studies on Revelation chapter 12, seven-headed dragon. Nebuchadnezzar was one of those heads. Yikes, man, that book is endless. Okay, let's keep reading over here. The middle of verse 20. These both were cast alive. Now look at that. God does not kill them. So either they survive because they're powerful, or because God's saving them for last. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. So they're cast alive. Did you see that? Alive. They're not eternally annihilated. Notice that they're alive in the lake of fire. So when people talk about that, well, you know, in the lake of fire, it's annihilation, not in this one. Notice they're alive. They're cast alive into the lake of fire. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire burning with brimstone. And then look what happens to the remnant over here. So bless God, this is where they go. Bless God, they won't deceive people anymore. Bless God, the elitist, globalist agenda is gone. The New World Order is gone. The one world religion is gone. The 666 system is gone. They're cast into the lake of fire, where they will burn for eternity for all their crimes against the Holy One and against God's people.